Who's the number one YouTuber you watch?
Grant Cohn. You gotta watch him. He's got the best information on sports.
The best information on sports.
The best.
That's my brand.
All sports.
All of the sports, I have the best information.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show with the best information on sports. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Coach Noah Johnston. We're going to be talking about defensive scheme, football theory, and Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. A lot of financial stuff in the NFL, which I find very interesting because I feel like it's the most important thing that most analysts don't talk about. But first, we're going to start. We're going to save that good stuff for the end. We want to start by talking about Stephon Gilmore. The Niners have been linked to him all offseason. There was a recent article in CBS saying the Niners are a good suitor for him. Do you think they should trade for Stephon Gilmore? He's got a year left on his deal. He's coming off an injury. He's 31 years old, but he's damn good.
Okay, so I think isn't he 30? I thought he
Let's
was 30,
see.
But
let me get an exact date on him. Yep, he'll be 31 on September 19th.
Okay, so I think with Gilmore, it's going to be. I think to me everything, and it's related to what you just said about the cap, and everything is cost. Like how much is he going to cost on your cap, and how much is he going to cost in terms of draft picks. Now the thing with Gilmore, I think that I haven't seen talked about much is Gilmore. The reason why he's sitting out, he's holding. He wants a new contract, so I don't think the Niners are going to be able to trade, or any team is going to be able to trade for him, and then be like, all right, just play this year. I think he wants to like extend now. So if you trade for him, I don't think it can be a rental. Like you're going to have to extend him. So I think if you trade for him, I think then it comes along with the question is, would you get rid of Jimmy for him? Because you'd have to do that. So because you have to extend him.
Right.
And then the other question is, what's the cost to get him? And because I'm thinking, at first I'm thinking a second, but then I kind of rethought it. Like he's 31, he wants an extension, he wants to get paid, and he's coming off an injury. Are other teams going to pay a second? I mean, could you get him for a third? Could you get him for a fourth this year and then a second the following year, something like that?
Yeah.
And I think you and Naylor discussed this, but. I think that I would want to make a move because I don't think this year is the year, but I think the following year is where you really can use a roster around Trey. But I looked and I don't know that another Stephon Gilmore is out there in 22. Those DBs the corners like that don't really hit the open market. So my thing is, do you think he could play well for the next couple years? So you trade for him now, so that he's on your roster in the next couple years, and you got a shutdown corner on your roster who you hopefully can keep Verrett. And if you have Verrett and you have Gilmore on your, especially with all the other pieces, I think the roster that's this year, if Gilmore is on the team, I think the defense could go to a next level if he's on, because you can do so much more. Because now Verrett becomes your number 2 corner, Stephon Gilmore becomes your other corner, and we've talked about Ward and Tart and those guys and obviously Fred Warner. Where's the weakness?
Well, let me ask it this way: if the Niners trade for Stephon Gilmore, extend his contract, but I'm talking this year. Let's say they get Gilmore and get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's basically the trade. Would you consider the Niners Super Bowl contenders?
Depends what they get out of the quarterback position.
Yeah, if Trey Lance plays well enough, I would say they are.
Yeah, if he plays well enough, I think I've said before, I actually expect the bulk of the rookie class to play pretty solidly, because I don't think it's as difficult as it was in the past. Especially what's around Trey. You don't need him to be. He doesn't need to be Tom Brady, especially if we're talking about contenders. Can they get to the playoffs and make a run? They're the favorite, but they might be able. They could possibly.
Yeah, I think the NFC is wide open after Tampa, and if you essentially traded Jimmy Garoppolo for Stephon Gilmore, Jeez, I mean, what team is better than the Niners in the NFC other than Tampa? I mean, maybe the Rams, I guess, although I think they have about 7 good players. I'm not sure. I don't know about them. They've lost a whole lot. Seattle's top heavy, Green Bay's top heavy, Minnesota's top heavy. I don't know. I think this is a really interesting move, and I feel like it would make them contenders. Of course, it would depend on Trey Lance, but what's he going to do? Go out there and fall on his face? I don't think he is.
I don't think so either. But I think what it does is it like remember they were top 5 defense last year, and the previous year they were like a record setting defense. So if if Gilmore's on the team, he could bring them back to like, hey, we're another record setting defense. And then the only caveat would be is D'Amico, like because D'Amico can he figure it out. But D'Amico's an intelligent guy. Like I think they've got good coaches on the staff. I think he could do it.
I mean, if they get Stephon Gilmore, they have the best cornerback tandem in the league, I think. Now they both be 30, but still the best cornerback tandem in the league. They'd have Nick Bosa coming back, Samson Ebukam, the best middle linebacker in the league, the best tight end in the league, and an extremely talented quarterback. Sure, he's only 21 and he's coming from 1AA football, but let's not mess around. The guy's athleticism and talent is already in the upper echelon of NFL quarterbacks. So that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and if you have a great defense, you're taking away pressure from that rookie quarterback. Like he doesn't have to be Tom Brady. He doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. He just has to be able to move the ball when you get in the red zone, score.
The upgrade from Emmanuel Mosley to Stephon Gilmore would be drastic. I mean, Mosley's solid. He can't cover DK Metcalf. Gilmore can. Gilmore can cover anyone. That's a tough defense to pass on.
I started watching a little bit of Gilmore because I was curious to see how he did last year. I mean, he did give up a touchdown versus Metcalf last year. I mean, but he covered it was tight. He was in tight coverage. I mean, Metcalf just made a play. Like, I mean,
it's like point guard guarding a power forward in the post.
Yeah, and the other thing is what you're giving Gilmore is he didn't have a pass rush in New England. So if you give him a pass rush now, when it's that particular route and just on anything, I mean, pass rush and coverage goes hand in hand, but that route that he did score on took a long time to develop. Now, if Wilson doesn't have that time to develop and throw it to Metcalf, then Gilmore could break the pass up.
This is why I'm bullish on the Niners getting rid of Jimmy and bringing in someone great like Stephon Gilmore, because I feel like they weren't good enough in 2019, evidently. And they haven't gotten better since then. They lost DeForest Buckner. They added Brandon Ayuk, but they lost Emmanuel Sanders and Kendrick Bourne. They're not better than they were in 2019 when they lost the Super Bowl. So if they could get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, get similar production from Trey Lance, and actually improve things by bringing in Verrett, Stephon Gilmore, I would take them seriously as a Super Bowl contender, considering how wide open the NFC is.
And he fits. If you're talking about that, maybe D'Amico's going to more of a man scheme than Stephon. He fits that. And
you want to bring pressure. What better than to have Verrett and Gilmore outside?
And he's, from what I know and what I've seen, like he's great with film study. He'd be a great locker room presence. Like if you need some guys to really tutor Ambry Thomas, like hey, learn from this dude.
Yeah, he learned from Bill Belichick. All right, follow up from Double B Studio. What's up, Double B? Here's a topic idea. NFC West is most dominant. Do you think it's impossible to win multiple Super Bowls due to the playoffs are always neck and neck? Patriots did it because the division isn't competitive.
It's winning multiple Super Bowls back to back. I think it's always going to be super difficult. I mean, I don't think it's possible, but
always going to be super difficult. I think Niner fans need to stop thinking about winning multiple Super Bowls just because that's what Bill Walsh did in the 80s. Just win one.
I think let's look at the Chiefs this past year. Like they're in position to win another one. Like they just got hit with injuries. Like they had 4 guys backup on the offensive line. That just shows you how important the offensive line is. And
right.
I think I don't know if they would win that game, but it's a different game if their starters are not hurt and actually playing the game.
Hey, let's be honest. If the Chiefs are remotely healthy in the Super Bowl, they're going to win last year. They're going to win this year. So it's an uphill climb. It's almost like the Warriors from a few years ago. If you're going to win the Super Bowl, you better have a stacked team with no weaknesses and some good luck as well.
Yeah, you better have an elite quarterback to compete with Mahomes. That's
who's also cheap because Patrick Mahomes' cap percentage this year is 4.
Yeah, 4%.
4 because he just renegotiated, which is I think what the Chiefs are going to do. Just renegotiate every year. Keep extending, keep backloading, keep giving you signing bonuses. What's wrong with that? I like that. Seems like a smart. Because we've been trying to figure out what is the solution. What happens when you get a Hall of Fame quarterback and you want to keep him, but you know that the money will get too much? Extend, renegotiate every year. I think that's clever.
And have the quarter, and as you've seen with Tom Brady, is have the quarterback on the same level or the same, on the same wavelength as you. Like, listen, like we're trying to give you the best team, but you got to help us out a little bit. And it seems like Patrick Mahomes he's right there. And what did the Chiefs do that because he was able to do that? They say, like, look, we're going to help you out. We're going to get you offensive line. Like,
exactly.
Okay, I'll restructure.
Exactly. Good call. And because if he hadn't restructured, he'd have no offensive line and no Frank Clark. Frank Clark is one of the 10 highest paid players in the league right now in terms of cap hits. So you can't have a guy like that if you're paying your quarterback $40 million a year. No. Niners could have a guy like that if they got rid of. I'm not going to say his name. All right. Let's talk just football philosophy here. Best coverage in football.
We had this discussion in your Discord a little while ago, and for me the best coverage of football is still cover one, and it's been that way for a while, I think, and it still is. If you have the ponies that can run it, I think that's very hard to beat. Because when I'm talking about, cover one. I'm talking about cover one with
man-to-man coverage.
Man-to-man coverage with a high safety and a man in the hole. Okay.
So like a zone defender as a robber underneath, whatever.
Yeah.
So kind of two guys in zones in different levels.
Because the weakness of the coverage is it's routes that are difficult to complete. You're giving up the corner route, right? And the comeback. And then you're giving up verticals. But that's why I said it's important to have the ponies that can run the coverage. If you have, let's say, a Stephon Gilmore and a Jason Verrett outside, we're like, run verticals on those guys. Like, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Then you're taking away the post. So those guys know that if a guy they're not threatened to the post. And then you got a guy in the middle of the field who, in this case, could be Fred Warner, who you could tell either take away the short shallows, or you can tell him drop back and take away the dig. Like, and be a robber. Like, this is a coverage that can take care of pretty much everything for you. And then you're not allowing the quick access throws like the slants and all that because it's man coverage. And hey, you got a running quarterback. You can use the whole low hole defender as a guy for a spot for the running quarterback. So you got eyes on the quarterback. You got man coverage around. Like, if you got the cats that can run it, it's a great coverage. To me, it's the best coverage in football if you can run it.
Absolutely. And the question right now is, can the Niners run it with what they have? Depends on that Mosley matchup, right?
I think you could in spots. I think what they do have is, I think they have the pass rush. They have the perfect middle linebacker. They have the safeties that can run it. You can use Tart in the middle field. You could use Ward. Those guys can cover on the slots. Verrett. The only weakness is Mosley on that. So I think, but if you go back to what we just talked about, and you have a guy like Stephon Gilmore, I mean, he's very uncomfortable in that coverage. We ran it in New England, and you could run it here. So Saleh still ran cover one last year. He still likes it. I mean, it just makes it that more effective. And I think with the Niners, with their personnel, if they were able to really execute cover one on a good percentage, then it'd be a killer coverage for them.
And, depending on how Jason Verrett's playing that game, you can do Mosley's side because that's when he's going to get tested. Cover one up the field.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. I mean, Mosley can then play the slot and all. I mean, that's why I guess for me, like zone guys versus man guys. I mean, to me, I think like. Are you worried about for me? I ask, are you worried about the route? Or are you worried about the player? For me, I'm worried about the player. So, like, do I want to take away the dig, or do I want to take away Tyreek Hill? Like, I think I want to take away Tyreek Hill. Like,
Yeah.
think about it in the Super Bowl. If you could cover man, you could just like, let's take away Tyreek Hill. Let's take away Travis Kelce. Make Sammy Watkins beat us. Like, Sammy Watkins had a solid game, but like, is he going to make that play on 3rd and 15? I don't think so.
No. And yet what they were doing was cover 3, take away the dig. Mosley bid on it, gave up the double move. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and if that's Sammy Watkins running the corner route, I don't know that he can get away from Jimmy Ward like that. If you guys remember that back to that time, Mahomes had a lot of time, but I mean, Tyreek Hill is like an elite sprinter. Didn't he run like a 4.2? Like
yeah. He ran a 3.7.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can the Niners stop mobile quarterbacks? What's the best way to do it? Zone, a spy? How is it done?
Well, I think a good idea, and I think it ties into like what they picked off. They picked up Samson Ebukam, and I think if you're able to run some of the man coverage, and I just drew this up here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Is what you can do is you can still have your down lineman here, and you can put Ebukam out here and stand him up and you're still going to rush outside here. You can rush here, and what you have to tell Ebukam to do is be a late ad. So let the quarterback read it, and if he finds a lane, then he's the spy, and he just spies him and he just spies and fills the lane. So it's essentially a blitz, but it's a late ad. So you're letting.
Do they call it like a green dog? A green dog?
I don't know if they call it I think if you're a backer, you call it a green dog, but I would call it like a spy hug. Like you're he's spying, but he's gonna let the quarterback if he determine if he wants to throw it or run it, and then once he decides to take a lane, then he's gonna attack the quarterback. He's not gonna wait on it. He's gonna attack and go get him. And you could do it. And the nice thing about that is like. I always say whenever you're going to install something, what's your plan if the player that you're using for it is going to get hurt? If gets hurt, what's your plan for that?
Yeah,
well, I could use Fred Warner for that role too.
True, Greenlaw.
I can. Yeah. So you've got other guys that can do it. I think Ebukam's the perfect guy because then he could still drop and he can do those things. But I think for me. I like that idea because you can still play all your coverages. You can play man. You can do all those things. You can still play like a 2-high look and do a lot with it. So and you're rushing like in this instance, you're only rushing 4. You're rushing 4, but you still get that. You still get that ad.
Right. So Ebukam is it's not like he's D4 trying to be the first one off the ball. He's sort of the last one in. So he's similar athletically to D4, but he's going to be used differently, most likely.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I would add that component in. Yeah,
that makes sense. Firm over here, Wise Guy says Buster Posey is leading the NL for All-Star votes at catcher. Must be a viewer of the show. You should help Wiseman next as the Bay Area's all-world quarter quality control. Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And I hope that Buster Posey shouts me out when he wins the MVP this year. I hope he does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't follow baseball too much. I do know that Grant's a big James Wiseman fan.
And a big Buster Posey fan as well. All right, so we're just talking about Samson Ebukam, how you're going to use him. The Niners lost Jordan Willis for 6 games. I don't know what he even was going to give him. Do you think the 49ers have enough edge rush depth?
No. To me, I think it's always puzzled me why they keep loading up on tweeners when I think they just need more like straight up edge guys. Like straight up edge guys. Like I know Bay Area Baller, you're a big fan of Arden Key, and I think he's going to be a solid piece. But I feel like they need another guy. Especially now that Willis is gone. Like, I mean, unless they're Alex Barrett is like killing it in camp, but hasn't he been with them for like 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't count on much from Alex Barrett. Very funny, Ben.
Yeah, Ben. What kind of question?
Very funny. So no, is the question: are they gonna when they sign Deion Jordan? Is that enough?
Deion Jordan? Like what? we've talked
What
about
about
it
Ziggy
before. So we can get her and take their money again. What's wrong with Justin Houston? I mean, I don't know if we talked about it before. Like,
can they afford him? That's what I think. I feel like the Niners have this cap space, but that's Trey Lance, Fred Warner plus draft cap space. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, unless the Niners know some secret about D Ford. If D Ford is miraculously healthy, then obviously that's great.
Is that why they're not signing Justin Houston? Because they're trying to save.
Yeah.
Justin Houston was always better than D Ford. Always. Can we just be clear?
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to replace D Ford, how about with Justin Houston? The guy was on the same team, used the same freaking way.
Good idea.
Why not? But it's because the Niners have this contract on their books that they can't get out of, or they can get out of, they choose not to. So if they ever choose, if they feel like getting out of that, Justin Houston's waiting. He's a good player. He's not that old.
No. He was effective last year.
Do it, you cowards. All right. What is the number one asset on the 49ers right now?
It's Trey Lance. It's a quarterback on a rookie deal.
People don't talk about this enough. It's the most important thing in football, and the Niners have it, but they're not using it.
They're not, because the longer you're carrying Jimmy Garoppolo, who's the opposite, he's a top 5 paid player in the NFL. So you've got him on your roster and
waste.
Right. And you could be using some of this money to
all
of it to extend Warner,
get Gilmore, get Everson Griffin or Melvin Ingram or Justin Houston. Yeah. It's all there. But
you don't. I mean, I think that's why it's one of the reasons why I was a big fan of going to trading up to get a rookie quarterback as opposed to like going to get Matthew Stafford. You know what you have in Matthew Stafford, but he's still paid high.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's you can look at the X factor with Trey or the unknown as being a negative, but you can also look at it as a positive. You kind of know what you're getting with Matthew Stafford, and you could end up getting a top tier quarterback with Trey. Like, he could bust, but he could also turn into one of the superstars in the NFL.
Also, the whole thing about drafting a quarterback in round 1 and sitting him for a year so he can develop, I feel like is kind of outdated. I mean, it's a pre-rookie wage scale thing. Now, whatever benefits you get from sitting a quarterback probably are outweighed by getting him on the field and building your team around him. I mean, maybe the Chiefs did the right thing setting Mahomes a year, or maybe they would have been Super Bowl contenders had he played as a rookie and they just gotten rid of Alex Smith. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, how many guys did really were effective from sitting? Was it like that I could think of like recently Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, but you could argue
Rodgers was pre-rookie wage scale.
Yeah, pre-rookie wage scale. But even then, like you could argue they probably waited too long on Rodgers. Right. Like I think he played
Rodgers
1 year and then
good. He was always good. He was amazing at Cal. He was going to be bad at Green Bay.
If you look at it, they played Rodgers I think he played 1 year and then he immediately they had to extend him. Like imagine if you got that like when he was on his rookie deal, like Green Bay probably would have won in the Super Bowl.
So I want to say something real quick. Niner fans are always obsessed about like the 5-year plan when really it's always about winning the Super Bowl now. And this is a weird year because of the pandemic. The cap came down. People don't have space. So the way that most teams have responded is to go cheap at the quarterback position. We've talked about this for a long time. I think this is the future of the league, going cheap at the quarterback position, because as long as there are guys on their rookie deal who can compete, then you really can't compete if you're spending 4 or 5 times as much on your guys. So can I list? There are 19 quarterbacks whose cap hit is below 12 million this year. 19. Can I list them real quick? I'll go quick. 19.
Yeah, your show,
Keep
dude.
in mind, Jimmy's at 27. All right. Keep in mind, Jimmy's at 27. These are all the quarterbacks whose cap hit is 12 million or less. Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Tom Brady, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Taysom Hill, Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Cam Newton, Andy Dalton, or Justin Fields. Take your pick. Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater, or Drew Lock, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. 19. I'm thinking one of these 19 guys is going to win the Super Bowl this year. Odds are.
Yeah, and how many of those 19 guys are better than Jimmy Garoppolo?
12, 13, 14. I mean, yeah.
19.
I'll take Jimmy over Jalen Hurts, maybe. But it's like still, like, give me the cheap guy. Give me the cheap guy every single time. So I just think that there's a trend going around the league. Look at all the smart coaches: Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid. They're finding ways to have a very low cap number for the quarterback, which allows them to build up the rest of the roster and go all in now. And then next year they'll work it out. They'll renegotiate the contract again or whatever. I mean, it's not like Taysom Hill's ever going to get a lot of money. Good.
But I think it does. I think it is part of. I think it still lends itself to being a 5-year plan, right? Because you've got 5 years. This guy, you got a rookie deal on 5 years, so you got 5. You can do this 5 different times, right? So like it does lend yourself to a 5-year plan because I've got Trey. I got Trey for 5 years, so like I got 5. I essentially have 5 shots, like. So I think it does lend itself to a 5-year plan. I think the fifth year is the most expensive, but it's still relatively cheap.
Absolutely. The more I've gone back and forth on the Trey Lance starting thing, and I just feel like in 2021, you don't want to waste a single week of a rookie quarterback's rookie wage scale contract. You just don't. And if he's not good, then maybe you shouldn't have drafted him. If he's going to go out and fall on his face, then maybe that wasn't the guy for you, man. I don't know. I mean, if you put rookie Josh Allen on this team right here, on the Niners team, right, would he be terrible? I don't think so.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Right. I mean, and also you could argue this is probably the best situation a rookie quarterback has been in outside of the Chiefs with Mahomes. Like what rookie quarterback is getting, a Hall of Fame left tackle? You just got him a second round guard. I mean, the other you've got him an all pro center. I mean, another first round pick in McGlinchey, and and then you got weapons outside and an all pro Hall of Fame, or I don't want to say Hall of Fame tight end just yet, but you've got an all pro tight end. I mean, these rookie quarterbacks generally don't step into these situations. So, I mean, he's got a situation
he's got a severely limited quarterback in front of him. I mean, Trey Lance is so much more talented than Jimmy, and he's more protective of the football. He checks the ball down and he runs. So, yeah, it's too bad if the Niners waste a year of Trey Lance's rookie deal, because I think if they actually were to embrace it and go all in, they could compete with him. Because I honestly look at the Saints as a contender. That team's stacked, and they have their record without Drew Brees the last couple of years is like 9-1 because their team is so good. So Taysom Hill is not a top 15 quarterback in the league, maybe not even top 20, but he's so cheap and he can do so many different things. I think they're going to be pretty good. It allows them to have a roster that's better than Seattle's, that's better than Green Bay's.
Yes. And I would say, I said this before when I was arguing for a rookie quarterback during the draft process, is like if you can like give Jimmy the training wheels treatment with Jimmy Gimmies, like why can't you do that with a rookie quarterback?
Exactly.
Why can't you?
That's what New Orleans is going to do with Taysom Hill this year. They're going to do it.
Yeah, put the plays in the playbook that Trey can execute the best, and take away the ones that he can't. And then when he's ready to do those plays or execute those plays, if ever, you put them in. But right now, give him the stuff he can do.
Yeah, it's not like Jimmy throws the ball that much anyway.
No.
All right. What is the number one problem on the 49ers?
I mean,
financially.
It's Jimmy G. It's Jimmy G and D Ford. And we've talked about D Ford, but I think Jimmy G is the bigger problem. And I think that contract, it's you can do a lot if you don't have that on the books. I mean, and the other point is like, what's the point of even having him? Like, I know people love Jimmy G, but I don't necessarily think he's that great anyways. Like, do you know who Visna I think Vulovic is? Do you know who that is?
No.
All right. So she was a stewardess on an airplane in 1972, and that plane was hit with a bomb, and she fell 33,000 feet and survived. Okay. Wow. So my point in how it relates to Jimmy is, if this woman if that happened 100 times, how many times is she going to live?
Yeah.
Probably one time.
Yeah.
How many times do you think Jimmy can repeat that situation in 2019? I don't think not very often. Like every time it's a perfect situation. He's got the running game. He's got the George Kittle has to break 35 tackles like to and win the game. Like he's had it perfect. He's had it perfect.
Also, he had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl and lost by 11. What more do you need, man? He had Emmanuel Sanders open down the middle of the field and missed him by 5 yards. Like, I think he had his chance.
He had not even if it came to that, but prior to that, George Kittle was open on plenty of plays, and he
didn't even see him.
He couldn't find him. I mean, everyone
couldn't find the best tight end in the league.
Right. Everyone looks to the what he did during the season, but again, it goes back to the point is like that was to me more luck than anything else. He was given a perfect situation. He had the best running game in the league. He had the best defense in the league. Like everything had
better than Jared Goff.
To be awesome. Yeah, everything had to be perfect for him to be awesome. Like when the Super Bowl wasn't perfect. If you look at what Patrick Mahomes did in Super Bowl as a whole, like he didn't have a good game, but like when it wasn't perfect, Patrick Mahomes was awesome. Like in that moment, like Jimmy G couldn't rise to the occasion and couldn't be awesome. Like I don't think, to me, even if Jimmy plays and is healthy, I don't think he's as good as everybody thinks he is. And I'm just not going to bank on him. Even if he's healthy, I don't think I'm not going to get a top tier quarterback. To me, he was never a top 10 guy.
He's Jared Goff. Maybe before the ACL injury, he gave you a little bit more. I keep going back to that throw he had against Minnesota in 2018 where he spun left, faded away, and hit Dante Pettis for a touchdown. He doesn't do that anymore. Now he's just as much of a statue as Goff. He can't throw the ball as far down the field as Goff. He's a quicker releasing. He's Goff.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the Niners are so emotionally tied into Garoppolo. I mean, we're Rams fans that emotionally tied into Goff. It took him 2 years to get rid of him, maybe 2 years too long, definitely 1 year too long. It seems like the Niners have the replacement in the building. What are you freaking waiting for? You know he's not good enough. You know he's not good enough. You saw it. He had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter and lost. How? He did it. Would Alex Smith have lost that 10-point lead? Probably not. Kaepernick, Jeff Garcia, I don't know, man. He had his.
Yeah, I mean, I know the top level quarterbacks aren't, and I think it all goes back. Doesn't everything pretty much go back to money? Like, that stinger that you got, if you paid $200K for it, like I don't think you'd be that happy, right?
The whole reason I got it is because it's so cheap for the performance it gives you. I mean, it's definitely a rookie wage scale car. You are getting elite performance, and I got it used, which was like $15,000 off the sticker price. So. Not much. Only 9,000 miles, mind you. It's pristine. But you know what I'm saying? Like, why would you buy a new BMW M3 for whatever that is, 150 or whatever, when you could get a Stinger, which is like right there, man? I feel like I could compete in that race, even though we're not racing because it's against the law. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, everything is price point. If Jimmy was $8 million on the roster, like, all right, yeah, that's cool. Like,
I'll take
all
that.
right, I'll take that. But he's not. He's the fifth highest paid player in the league, and you're not getting the value there. And
again, it's a pandemic year. The cap went down. No one has cap space. All the smart teams went cheap at this position this year. All
Right.
the teams that aren't cheap at the position are teams that I don't take seriously. Dallas, Green Bay, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, the 49ers, Seattle. I mean, all teams that could win 11, 12 games, but teams that aren't going to go to the Super Bowl, in my opinion, because misallocation of funds.
Don't you think if Jimmy was like, let's say $8 million, they might have been able to move him, right? Because he's got injury limitations, he's got limitations on the field, but the other component to that, what teams don't like, is I got to give him $27 million, and if I give him $27 million, it means I can't give it to other people.
It means I can't win the Super Bowl this year. So what you would do is if any team traded for him, they'd have to extend his contract and renegotiate. So who wants to do that right now? Not New England, I would think. Maybe Houston. Not the most exciting thing to do.
Right. Maybe, and that's why it goes like if you had the option to get Gilmore and you could, I mean, do you just
Cut
straight cut
Just cut him.
give him?
Because what are you going to get? A 6th-round pick?
Yeah.
All right, if you could get the 6, great. But honestly, no one has the cap space to take on a $27 million cap hit right now. So you'd have to get extended. And who wants to sign Jimmy Garoppolo? Who wants to extend Jimmy Garoppolo coming off this injury season? I mean, I think you got to cut him. And you know what? Do it.
Yeah.
Good.
And is that maybe? And I think that might be part of the component is maybe why they want him out there because they want him to play well so that they can try to get something back for him. I mean, I think
this is what bugs me. You're right. This is what this season is about in their eyes, getting something for Jimmy Garoppolo. No. The season's about winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to move on from your failures, right? Like, I mean, and it's okay to fail, right? Like, I think if you look at it from business perspective, like so many people have been successful in business have failed times. Like, all right, you had the Jimmy Garoppolo experiment, you failed, move on. Okay, cut your losses and roll with Trey. Like, yeah, I would love to get something back for Jimmy, but if you can't, and an opportunity like Stephon Gilmore comes along or somebody else, I mean, see ya, Jimmy. Like,
it's a good segue to our last topic. Oh, hold on. I got to make it scrollable because I hate when it doesn't scroll. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So to me, what the Niners have made this season all about is Jimmy, pumping up his value again. They've made it clear they're not going to trade him for anything less than a 1st-round pick. Okay. So they're starting him and they're saying he's playing really well and they're going to give him a chance to do a revenge tour again. And it's like, great. Best case scenario, he plays the whole season and wins a bunch of games in the regular season, doesn't win the Super Bowl. Is he worth a 1st-round pick then? Maybe. But what are the odds that happens, man?
Probably the same odds of falling out of a plane for 30,000 feet and surviving.
What's more likely is that he gets hurt again. And now all that money is unmovable. It's dead money. And your team loses a bunch of games again. And you have another losing season again. Because you can't win when all that money's on IR.
Right.
As they've learned.
Yeah.
As they've learned. So you're repeating that. That's more likely. That's so scary. The idea that he goes out and gets hurt again. Can't happen. You'd like to move him or cut him before that happens.
Yeah. So I think with Jimmy, it's like, I know you had talked about it. I remember you talking about with your father that you'd like to have some competition in your camp. Like, do you think that are you moving past that now where you're like, just give it to Trey?
I mean, okay, that's fine. They've come this far. They've already missed on Julio Jones, right? They already passed that up. Okay. When Trey Lance wins the competition by like August 20th, August 26th, whatever, then cut him before Jimmy Garoppolo goes out there and gets hurt or while there's still a few players available. Because Gilmore's there's still going to be tradable players they could get. And even in the season, like,
right. And
you never know.
Deadline,
Devontae Adams, who knows? Yeah.
I thought Gilmore would be a guy that was available at the deadline, right. But I think him wanting his contract is what pushed that up.
Okay.
So there's going to be opportunity there. I'm on the same boat, and I think this year and the future, it's all about Trey Lance. Like,
yes,
their goal this year, number one, number two, number three should be getting Trey Lance ready, getting him comfortable, and getting him prepared to be an NFL starting quarterback, and getting him to be prepared on the highest level. Like, if they make the playoffs this year, that's great, but what's the priority is getting Lance ready because he's their future. I mean, you poured all this capital into him. Essentially, Kyle's job is basically Trey Lance. Like, if Trey Lance is successful, Kyle's going to keep his job and probably get another contract.
Sure.
Probably the same with John Lynch. So this team, it's all tied to Trey Lance's future. The team is tied to Trey Lance. Quarterback is the most important position in football. They got to get him ready, and the best way to get ready is, I think, to see the field, especially when he hasn't really played last year.
And I feel like people keep saying, like, well, rookies never won a Super Bowl, so you can't do that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Ever since, I mean, there's not a long sample size. This rookie wage scale just went into effect 10 years ago. It's going to happen. Rookies haven't gotten that many opportunities, especially on good teams. But given how cheap they are, It's going to happen. It's going to happen soon. It could be Trey Lance. The way I look at it is the biggest advantage in the NFL is this thing, and you want 4 shots at it, not 3. It lasts 4 years. The fifth year option is expensive. It's not it's very expensive, straight up. So the first 4 years, that's your opportunity. You don't want to waste it. You don't want to waste it. This Trey Lance thing, it'll be a different story if he's great and he's making $27 million a year down the line. You want these 4 shots, 4 chances to win a Super Bowl. Don't waste it. It's all about Trey.
Yeah, it is about Trey. And I think people put too much into winning the Super Bowl this year. And I think what maybe they're missing is if you put Trey on the field this year. I mean, remember Patrick Mahomes didn't do it he started his first year, he didn't do it right. He lost to Brady. I think it was Brady in the playoffs. Now, if he had started a year earlier, maybe he would have saw something that he would have saw and got some experience, something that he would be able to add on to his game, or like, oh well, I can hit that route on this play and all that. And maybe in that year when they lost against Brady, that wouldn't have happened because he would have had that experience the first year and been able to apply it on the field the second year. So, right. Okay, if they don't make the Super Bowl this year, fine. But you know what? Trey Lance would have the experience, and maybe with that experience, they could win the Super Bowl in his next year. And, just throwing him out there in his first, next year and be like, oh, we have Super Bowl expectations. Well, if he had some experience along with that, I think that would help him. I mean, that extra that year, especially coming from a guy who hadn't played last year,
right?
Get him. I mean, unless he's totally lost, and I don't see that's the case. We talked about it earlier. Build the playbook around him, give him what he can execute, and build upon that as he gets comfortable.
Yeah, I think a good template for how the Niners can use him is Russell Wilson from 2012. Now, Russell Wilson was more experienced, but Trey Lance is just as talented as Russell Wilson and bigger. And the way they use him, they put him on a run-first team. He was kind of like an ancillary part of that offense, and he created big plays. And he was not the reason they didn't win the Super Bowl in 2012 or they didn't make it. The reason they didn't make it is because their team wasn't quite good enough. They still had Matt Flynn on the roster. They hadn't quite loaded up. They got rid of Matt Flynn. They brought in Cliff Averill, Mike Bennett, and really loaded that team up. Won the Super Bowl in year 2. Russell Wilson could have done it had they really gone all in, like I'm saying the Niners should right now for Trey Lance. And that's where the Niners are right now. If Trey Lance is good, remember, Russell Wilson wasn't winning games single-handedly his first couple years in the league.
No.
He was part of the offense, but he was great at what he did.
And I think it goes back to I know like you weren't a big fan of maybe bringing Trent Williams back, but doesn't it make sense if you're playing a rookie quarterback?
Exactly.
Like, a Hall of Fame.
You can spend irresponsibly if you have Trey Lance.
Right. And
yes.
And you want to have the best offensive line out there if possible. Like, I don't want to just, knowing now that there's a rookie quarterback, I don't want to just throw like Anderson Villanueva out there. Like, figure it out at left tackle. Like, I want this kid to be as comfortable as he could possibly be out there playing quarterback. And having a guy like Trent Williams, spending a second round pick on the guard, fixing the center position with Alex Mack, like make him nice and comfortable. And I think like that's ideal. I mean, I would go this year's all about Trey. Like I'm putting him out there. If he can go, I'm putting him out there. And if he can't, like I'm doing everything to make sure that he can go. And that he's super comfortable out there. Like if I get an injury on the offensive line and I need to make a move, I'll go trade for somebody on the offensive line because I don't want Trey like running, getting killed out there every moment. Like, yeah, I'm protecting him.
And if he shows he's ready, get rid of Jimmy and go all in for this year. Make some moves. Bring in the guys now. Don't just be like, well, rookies never won a Super Bowl, so why would we go all in? No, it could have happened in 2012. It could happen in 2021. Go all in if he shows he's ready, honestly. Because, again, Russell Wilson, as a rookie, he threw the ball 393 times in 16 games. He wasn't throwing the ball all over the yard, but he was ready to win that Super Bowl that year. And the next year, he came back, threw the ball 407 times, and won the Super Bowl. So you don't need him to be the end of the offense.
No. He's got to make some plays here and there and get it to his playmakers. The other thing is, too, is like I think people talk about – okay, that he's got to be able to compete with Jimmy Garoppolo. To me, like, and what's compete and what level do they have? They don't, to me, they don't have to be the same. Like if Trey Lance is a little worse, I would give it to Lance. Why? Because if I get him experience, he's going to grow exponentially. Where we know what Jimmy is, right? Like Jimmy with experience is not going to be better Jimmy. He's just going to be the same Jimmy.
Yeah.
Trey Lance with experience is going to be better
That's
Trey Lance.
And every time I hear someone make an argument for keeping Jimmy Garoppolo, I just do in my mind like, okay, well, what if you take out Jimmy's name and put in Jared Goff and pretend it's 2020? I mean, how is it any different? It's like Rams fans arguing on behalf of Jared Goff last year. Hey, he took us to a Super Bowl. Or look at our record in the regular season with him. Okay. You've seen him play. You know he's not good enough. You know he's not good enough, but you're gonna lie to yourself? I mean, come on. Rams fans finally are out of denial. They're like, thank God. Oh my God, the Jared Goff experience is over. He's the Lions' problem now. I mean, honestly, Niner fans, if Jimmy Garoppolo were on the Lions right now, would you be saying, hey, Jimmy's pretty good? Hold on. No, you'd be like, the Lions are screwed. Lions are screwed.
You'd be like,
being loyal.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey, keep him. Like,
hey, keep him.
Yeah, keep him over there. Yeah, like
so,
Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't scare teams. Like nobody's sitting there like, man, I gotta go plan for Jimmy Garoppolo this week. Oh,
earlier in the show, you were saying the ultimate defense cover one. Hey,
that's the Jimmy beater. It's the Jimmy beater. It'll kill.
He's got no answer for it.
I don't even have to have Stephon Gilmore and Jason Verrett. Like he can't throw outside. He can't do it.
No.
So
and your single high safety can be parked at like 12 yards. 11.
And he can't run either. So like
so you don't have to spy him.
No, you don't. You don't spy.
You could double someone.
Yep, you could double. You could take all these inside routes.
Double the tight end, easy. Take away the George Kittle. Boom, single outside. Yep.
And he doesn't get to, and he rarely gets to like second, third reads either. So like
this is, and he just stares down his first read. This is why the whole Jimmy Garoppolo fantasy is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Look at week 1 last year. All right, he was terrible. He was healthy. He was bad. The word is out on this dude. Look at his win-loss record going back to late 2019. I mean, he lost to freaking Atlanta. Okay, and then he did win a couple playoffs games, but his quarterback rating in the playoffs was 75. So, Double B Studio, what?
I was going to say, I know it's a different game, but I mean, look, there's tons of quarterbacks in the college level that have awesome win-loss records, but like they're not great quarterbacks, but look at their win-loss records.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. And we get that concept. Double B Studio says Jimmy for Watson straight up. What would be the repercussions? Good outweigh the bad. Trey sits for a year. Trade Watson next year. Nah, man. Nah. It's the Trey area. It's the Trey era. It's Trey time. Stop forgetting about Trey.
You wouldn't even want that on your, like, why would you even want that on in like fantasy land? Like, why would you even want that? Like, I mean, Trey's gonna look back there and see if Watson's available, like, you know.
Yeah. No.
I mean, I guess
Watson. No.
I guess all the masseuses in San Francisco. I don't know.
No, man. No, Watson. No, not happening, man. Yeah, because the thing about him, even if he's innocent, the whole thing that he went to every single masseuse in Houston is just so strange. Doesn't make any sense. David says you're overrating the Saints, in my opinion. They lost key role players, and dead cap on Drew is $12 million each the next 2 years. I didn't know that. Well, good call. Thank you. All the more reason to say that the NFC is wide open. To me, it's 2 teams. It's Tampa. It's Arizona, if Cliff Kingsbury doesn't get in the way, and the Niners, if they can just get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo.
But wait, I think it's still, like, your reasoning still applies there. Like, okay, you're talking about the Saints this year, but like I think Grant was talking about like having a quarterback, paying him cheap and loading.
Yeah, but they're saying like when you factor in the dead money on Drew, all of a sudden they're not as cheap at quarterback. Now they're only they're not at 20. They're still below 20.
Right, but they were on the other end of the spectrum, and that's where where your point is valid. Where like they were carrying Drew Brees, that contract. Imagine if they had a rookie quarterback and they had that roster with a rookie quarterback instead of Drew Brees. Like, what could they have done with that?
Especially considering Drew Brees hasn't played well in the playoffs the last few years, and they're 9-1 without him. I mean, Teddy freaking Bridgewater was 5-0 and got paid, I mean, ton of money based off that stretch, right? He's set for life because of that stretch. So good for the Saints. I don't know. I think they're a pretty good team, but it just shows you that It's wide open. I think the Cardinals are better than people give credit to. I mean, I keep saying this. If they had any other coach, people would take them seriously, but it's Cliff. And that's valid. I don't think much of Cliff.
No, and it's a tough division too. It's like this division could be really tough. The Cardinals could be really good, but they're just like the fact that they're in the NFC West, like everyone's just beating up on everybody, and like I think the NFC West is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, if JJ Watt stays healthy, wow. That him and Chandler Jones in the same line, that's the best front seven in the league. Maybe
it's going to be up there. Maybe. It's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Anyway, so we just figured out all the Niners' problems. They got to just embrace it. It's 2021. You don't sit rookie quarterbacks. You don't. It's like sitting on your biggest advantage. Why? Use it, please.
Use it and find a way to use that money. Like pay Fred, or go trade for somebody, or get really good backups. I mean, don't.
How did the Matt Flynn thing go down? How long did he stay on the team? I know they brought him in. Because this is the last thing. I feel like the 2012 Seahawks are a good example here. They brought in, they spent a lot for Matt Flynn. Then they drafted Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson just straight up beat him out. It was obvious. So what did the Seahawks do? They gave him a 3-year deal worth $20 million. That was a lot at the time. Okay. And then he competes with Russell Wilson, loses. They traded him in 2013. Okay. So here's what I'm saying. He spent a year on the bench as a highly paid backup. Niners don't make that mistake. Do not make that mistake. If Lance wins the job, get rid of Jimmy and spend it on some guys on a 1-year deal, because you can get, don't make the mistake the Seahawks made.
I think I'd have to look at the contract, but the thing about it is Jimmy's contract is movable, and it's like if you cut him, you're not really losing anything.
That's
like right. You get that money back instantaneously. They might have been in a situation where they would have to had to eat a lot and then not be able to get a viable backup. But like you,
right? They might have been stuck with Matt Flynn for a year. Yep.
Yeah, and
they couldn't just cut him. Yeah.
And props to the Niners for putting themselves in this position where you can do this with Jimmy's contract. Now you have that as an asset. Like cutting Jimmy is an asset to the Niners. You're getting that money back. Like he's not only an asset for a trade, but he's an asset if you can cut him and getting the money back.
Absolutely. Double B says, if Trey starts, who will be his go-to guy? Kittle or Sanu or Ayuk, or will he check down a lot like Breeze? He's going to check down a lot like Breeze, but Kittle is the go-to guy in this offense. It's the biggest mismatch. And what I think what's cool about Trey is that the way Jimmy uses him is very much on the shallow stuff, and it requires George to break 18,000 tackles every time. He's also a deep threat, and I think Trey Lance will bring out that part of his game.
And I think he'll bring that part on everybody. I mean,
right?
Debo was a deep threat in college.
Too.
Like,
that's true.
Like, I know obviously we know of Ayuk as a deep threat. Like, he's gonna bring out the deep threat in everybody's game. Like, I don't know, Ross Dwelly too, maybe.
Absolutely, and he's gonna be a little bit more scattershot on the quick throws and the intermediate throws than Jimmy. That's just what he's not gonna be as accurate, but he's definitely gonna be able to challenge more grass with his throws and his legs, which is a good thing. Because the field is this freaking big for Jimmy right now. It's this big.
And you get the running aspect of his game too. Like you do. I was looking at some of the Cardinal film with Jack Hammer, and like just having that running aspect of the quarterback just on 3rd and 1, it makes it almost like a gimme, because you have to account for you have to account for the quarterback.
It's a layup.
And it's right. Especially with Trey with that size, like I mean, he can get 1 yard. I mean, if you do give him the ball, like sneaks and all that stuff, like it just. And
that's the thing about Patrick Mahomes. Like you don't think of him as a runner, but he'll scramble for 2-3 first downs a game. That makes a big difference. Jimmy won't do that. No.
When he does, he gets hurt.
Yeah, his longest run of his career was 13 yards. He tore his ACL.
Yeah.
Seriously. That's why he doesn't run anymore. 14 yards. 13 is the limit. 12, he's okay. Animal Science TV says, bring me on, Grant. Go, Pack, go. Hey, 10 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow. Cohn phone. You can call in. I'll drop a link in there. What is that? What is that?
Animal Science TV.
No. I mean, what kind of currency is that?
I don't know what that is. Is that a pound? Is it a pound?
Is that a pound? Did he just give me 125 pounds? Because that's a lot of money.
You balling. That's
hey, thank you, Animal Science TV. I really appreciate it. Every weekend, 10 o'clock Pacific, I do a call-in show for like 2 hours. So you're welcome to call in. And since you just gave me, I don't know, maybe a lot of money, I'll put you in the front of the line. Thank you.
Dude, 10 o'clock Pacific in the morning.
That's right, in the morning. Don't get crazy.
In the night.
Cabo Rojo says, who would want Jimmy G? Where would he fit? And who would benefit from the services? Yeah, man. Only thing I can think is if things get weird with Deshaun Watson and he gets like suspended for the year and they don't. But they got Tyrod. So
I don't think anybody. It's really tough. I know people love to put him in New England, but they like if you're in New England, why would you want that? Like what?
And I feel like this is why he's on the team, so the Niners can avoid cutting him and avoid looking like they lost the trade. You already gave up on him. You brought in Trey Lance. It's over. It's over. Okay?
It's a wrap.
It's over. It's a wrap.
It's over.
You were wrong about, but you weren't even wrong about Jimmy. He tore his ACL. It happened. It happened in a game. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't his fault. The dude's knee fell apart, and he hasn't been the same since. Just move on.
But even if you are wrong, like it's okay to be wrong sometimes. Just be wrong and then move on and make sure you're right with this guy. And
because to me, this contract was never meant to go this far. The way they set it up, backloaded, with the easy outs and no dead cap, it was set up for one of two things. He was supposed to be cut by now, traded by now, or extended by now. You don't play it out the whole way, and the fact that they have is hurting them. It's too expensive.
Yeah, I think it was interesting you brought up Russell Wilson before because the arc of Russell Wilson starting, it started out with oh, Russell Wilson's a great leader. He's grasping the offense and he's taking a leadership role. Like, what's Trey Lance doing right now? He's out. Right. He's working with Mohamed Sanu. Prior to that, he was working with Brandon Ayuk. He's doing a lot of things you would see a leader do.
Aren't there a lot of similarities between Russell Wilson and Trey Lance?
Yeah,
I mean they're not the same. Russell Wilson was more experienced, but in terms of their temperament and skill set,
yeah, I'm not sure Russ would have went to Vegas, but I mean,
hey, if CR was playing, he might have.
He might have, and
big fan.
Yeah, and I don't know if Russ would have gotten that chain though either. But listen, like
that's true. That's true.
We're talking about, maturity on the field. I mean, that's
true.
He's still a rookie. He's still young. Like, he did. It's nothing too crazy.
Chain.
Yeah, it's just you got to get the GC chain.
I've got to, man. Absolutely, it's time. Because I don't think that the minuscule amount of fame that I've gotten has gone to my head just yet. So I think it's time.
If Animal Kingdom or whatever keeps giving you 125 pounds, like
thank you so much. I have no idea how much money was that. Did he say Animal Kingdom? How much was it? I'm looking. Nope. I think he just came in.
Animal Kingdom. Where do you live?
If things get weird with Love, Green Bay might take him.
No. I mean, if I'm a team, I would just say, I'll wait till the Niners cut him, and like
Green Bay's already given up on already. He hasn't played a game. I would imagine they'd give him a chance.
I would. They wouldn't they just trade for somebody else out there like that? I mean, rather than the $27 million quarterback who's the maybe, I don't know, 25th best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I know the Niners want to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, but it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore.
Jimmy Garoppolo, it's like in old school, like the bread maker that Will Ferrell's always trying to give away. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's the bread maker. Like
he's the bread maker.
Would you give us a second rounder? Like give us
that's exactly it. Yes. All right, I'm done haranguing you about Jimmy Garoppolo and his contract. I think I've made my point. I brought Coach on. We've done the best we can. Now, if you disagree with us, that's fine. We'll try to change the topic next time because we're not going to just talk about this all summer. But we've let our stance be known, and we've given you historical context, and I think we've made good points. Now it's in the Niners' court. We'll see what they do. Coach, thank you. Have a great Friday.
You too.
Casual Friday.
Go get yourself that chain.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Get some wings and
get myself that chain for my wedding anniversary. Hey, babe, check out what I got for our wedding anniversary. This chain for me. See you, everyone.